Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today I am honored to be joined by British Ambassador to the Kingdom of Cambodia, Tina Redshaw. Tina Redshaw is the first female British ambassador to Cambodia and took the office in 2018. This year, 2022, marked the end of her tenure. Therefore, today we will discuss her 4-year journey as an ambassador to Cambodia, as well as the accomplishment, the projects that the UK has achieved and assisted the Cambodian people, and also the remaining challenges, as well as the recommendations from the ambassador, are also the topic for today's discussion. Ambassador, thank you so much for the time and the opportunity for us to conduct an interview with you for us. Yes, and as we have known that August is the last month of your tenure as a British ambassador to Cambodia. So during the 4 years as a British ambassador to the kingdom, what are the memorable experience or the special moments that you have experience as a British ambassador to the country?
Oh, that's a good opening question. So many that I could speak all afternoon about them, but I think there have been special moments just about being in Cambodia and visiting places in Cambodia. Obviously Angkor Wat, but also I've been, I think, 3 times to Preah, and I love that temple. Hiking in Khonum Bazaar, spending time with Arch Evening alumni, the Alumni Association of our scholars, mangrove planting with them. You might have seen pictures of me planting mangroves down in Kampot province, as well as I had the privilege of flying over the forest of the Cardamom Mountains, which was pretty special. So those are very much things that I've done around Cambodia, enjoying the beauty and the history and culture of the country. But of course, there's lots more that I've done in the course of my work, and I'm sure we'll talk about this later on. But one of those areas is the extensive women's network that I've built up. Spent time with a lot of young women entrepreneurs. Women just starting out on their career journeys, students, as well as really encouraging young women to either nominate themselves or be nominated for the Women of the Future Southeast Asia Awards.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So regarding the Cambodian culture, like what have you learned from our culture, and what do you think you can share those what you have learned once you're back to the United Kingdom?
I have learnt quite a lot about the importance of Buddhism to Cambodia's culture, both obviously historically, but also how it continues to influence today's culture. I think the fact that everyone goes to the temple regularly, or at least for all the festivals, young and old, I think there is a really strong sense of a historical continuity for Cambodians, despite some of the dreadful things that happened in this century or last century. I feel that when Cambodia talks about the Angkorian period, for example, that Cambodians are very proud of its history and the legacy of ancient times.
Okay. So regarding the work that you have done as a British ambassador to Cambodia, so what are the most affecting, what are the issues affecting the Cambodian people, in which the United Kingdom has most focus on through the government as well as the NGO programs?
I mean, continuing the theme of women, I think that we've had a strong focus on on promoting gender equality and women's empowerment. And that's been very important for me personally as a woman and as the first female British ambassador here. Climate change is something that we all need to take seriously and need to find ways of mitigation and adaptation. And everyone has a role in that, whether it's to use less plastic, whether it's to really be mindful about the impact that each of us has on our one planet. That's very important, and we've worked on that. And within that frame, our promotion of electrification of transport. So the fact that my embassy here is the first one in Cambodia to have, so my flag car is an electric vehicle, and it gets attention not just from the diplomatic community, but from ministers, including the Minister of Transport and Public Works. So by having our electric vehicle and being the first, and at the moment still the only one, to have an electric vehicle, it sends a signal about our intention and the UK's, the seriousness with which the UK takes climate change and its impacts, and how to combat climate change. And I think that obviously we can't do this interview without thinking about the impact that COVID had on everybody. And so another area was assisting Cambodia with its vaccine drive. Cambodia, certainly in the region, was the earliest adopter of vaccinations for everybody. And we were able to provide nearly 500,000 vaccines for that drive. But also thinking about the recovery, we've been working with Cambodian government on an economic recovery programme in which we, a cross-ministerial team led by CDC, has been working very hard on how to generate more investment in the automotive and the consumer electronics sector. And that includes looking at the issue of upskilling. So how do you move from the garment factories of today to actually the higher skills needed in these newer industries, and that's been really important.
Okay, those are the issues that the UK has been addressing. So has the goal been achieved through this program in addressing those issues that you mentioned?
So the ACES program and the roadmaps that have been developed obviously have a longer term, or the results won't come for a few years. However, the fact that that program has delivered 2 roadmaps that are implementable, that are about to be adopted by the government. They've already passed the Finance and Economy Policy Committee, and very much owned by the Cambodian government as a means of increasing investment. So I think I am able to say that they have achieved their goal in order to have something that government can take forward in the roadmap for these sectors. And I think as part of that as well, the upskilling and the human resource capacity building is something that I hear all the time from every ministry, from every minister, and we have played our role in looking at ways that across the piece, whether it's in education, in school, university, by offering scholarships, but also beyond university, and how do you find the ways to upskill the workforce, not just to do the jobs now of today, but also thinking about the jobs for the future. So more digital, for example, ICT.
So all of those projects, accomplishments and the effort, so which one are you most proud of? Like as you are living Cambodia, so which one of those projects that you are proud of?
I think I am most proud of the fact that people know how much I have done in the field of women's empowerment and gender equality. The fact that I have talked about it a lot, and that ministers that I talk to know that I'm going to ask the question, where are all the women in this meeting? for example. So much so that some ministries have started actually, now they do bring some of their female employees, or if there is a female employer, they'll say, we do have women working here. But more seriously, people do recognise that I have used my position here and the fact that I have a platform as ambassador to talk to people, and I don't just mean at the government level. I also mean to private sector, which I think is probably doing better actually than the government in many ways, but also to young people, so young women and men, about why it's so important to ensure that women are being treated equally to men and that they do not have to face extra challenges and burdens in the workforce, for example. So one of the things that I've done, sadly only twice because of COVID, was run a competition to invite a young woman to be ambassador, to shadow me, to be ambassador for the day. And this year we had a round table about what young women wanted for their workplace in the future. So what sort of workplace did they hope for in the future? And it was very marked that many of them spoke about what they didn't want, which was they did not want a workplace where they were going to feel harassed or unequal to men, and that came through. And so it was clear to me that that young women are very conscious of the discrimination that they face, or the difficulties that they face, and want to find ways of getting over that.
Okay. So have you seen the gender inequality issues in Cambodia has improved?
Yes, I think in the 4 years that I've been here, I think the situation is improving, actually. I think amongst the younger generation, I think people do treat each other much more equally. I think there are more young men who are actually working as allies with young women and will sort of call other men out if they're seen not treating women badly. So I think it is improving. I think we're certainly seeing women being promoted to positions, to higher positions. Perhaps for me it's just not enough, not fast enough.
Yeah. So is there any project or initiative that you would like to continue to support Cambodia before your departure?
Well, there's various things that we have been doing for quite some time, and we will continue. So, for example, mine clearance, so the clearance of mines, particularly in the border regions, is something that we've been doing for a long time. I was just recently at an event in Siem Reap with Halo Trust, sort of marking their 30-year anniversary of working in Cambodia. And I think that work is really vital. It's an investment by us, by the UK government, but an investment that has huge returns for Cambodia's development, because once an area of land has been cleared, then it's available for economic use and can really lift people out of poverty. It enables children to go to school because the schools are free of mines. And that we will continue. We've recently announced continuation of funding through until 2025. So we will be doing that. I will certainly be speaking to my successor, and I hope that he's also able to continue with our work on gender equality and promoting, encouraging equality and inclusion. I think that's really important. And I think education generally, and as I said, capacity building, that's what we're hearing, not just in Cambodia, but across all of ASEAN. And I feel very strongly that the young people I meet are very, very hungry and thirsty for knowledge, for new knowledge and learning, and that's a good thing. Yeah. We're seeing many more Cambodians choosing to go to study in the UK. They sort of understand. I think many students now are perhaps in consultation with their parents, but are certainly saying to their parents, I want to go to the United Kingdom. Whereas maybe before it was Australia, because it was a little bit nearer, or maybe US because perhaps they knew more about the States, or had friends who'd been. But we've seen definitely an increase in students who are choosing the quality education in the United Kingdom.
So yesterday I saw the announcement of the UK Embassy in Cambodia Facebook page that the UK announced the new trading system, which is the developing country trading system, and Cambodia is also one of the priority countries that will benefit from this system. So can you tell briefly about the system and how much Cambodia will benefit from this new trading system?
It is a new system, but it's not so different than the system that's been in operation for Cambodia in the past. So at the moment, Cambodia there's no tariffs, there's no quota, and under the new trading system, that will remain all the time that Cambodia is a lower developing country. Then there is really no change in it. The change only happens as Cambodia graduates into the lower middle income category of country, which is obviously a few years to go. So we will be briefing the Ministry of Commerce and the private sector about the new system, which, as you say, you saw it yesterday. It is breaking news.
Yes. Since the COVID-19 outbreak has shown a sign of slowdown, and also Cambodia has returned to normalcy, and right now I would say we are in the post-COVID-19 era. So what do you see as the challenges that Cambodia has to address in this post-COVID-19 era?
I've touched on it already, that the economic recovery is obviously really vital. Cambodia's economy did take a hit, particularly because the main pillars of its economy all took a shock. Tourism being one major one, obviously the exports, garments, shoes, bicycles, and infrastructure, all of them took a big hit during COVID. Tourism, we are seeing some re-emergence, but quite slowly and steadily. And I think that coming back to the ACES program that we've been running, it would be very important for Cambodia to find ways to diversify its economy in order not to be as reliant on sort of two big main sectors. And I'd say also in the agriculture sector, there's lots of potential for more to be done in agri-processing, for example. So rather than only exporting raw materials or the plants and the fruit, but actually to do more processing to add value to the goods.
Okay, then so what are your recommendations for Cambodia as well as the Cambodian people to address the challenge mentioned about?
That's a very big question to end on. I think with such a young population, I think it's really important that young people have a voice, that young people are listened to, that they have the opportunity to express their opinions, they have the opportunity to talk about their hopes and ambitions for the future of their country, not just their own futures, but the future of their country, and that young people, men and women, are empowered to do what they want in the country, whether it's go into politics, whether it's to run businesses, whether it's to go overseas to study. I think it's really important that people listen to each other and respect each other's opinions.
Yes, thank you so much, Ambassador, for your time for this interview.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.